on central initiatives for skill development complementary to the hospitality industry by Dr. Kamakshi Maheshwari, Assistant Professor, IITTM. Dr. Maheshwari was born to a family of natural historians. And she has spent over 25 years in tourism academics. She is currently the Nodal Officer for the Central Nodal Agency for Rural Tourism, Rural Homestay, and Adventure Tourism, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. She is the National Coordinator for the G20 Capacity Building Program. Further, she is the Coordinator for the Integrated Regional Tourism Development Program for the Madhya Pradesh Tourism Board. She is the Coordinator for the ASEAN Training Program on Tourism and Technology and is working on multiple programs of the central government from Swachhata Action Plan and Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat that span initiatives like cleanliness and mutual understanding and cooperation between people from different states. Finally, under the flagship program, Incredible India Tourist Facilitator, she is involved in developing and training the youth of the country. Dr. Maheshwari also holds 11 honorary posts that range from national development initiatives and editorial positions. She is also a 3-time Limca record holder. After this presentation with this illustrious individual who will be gracing us with her perspective on central government initiatives, we will have an intimate conversation between Mr. Andres Omar Hayes, the President and CEO of Artife Group, and Mr. Praveen Roy, the advisor on skills to the Confederation of Indian Industry, New Delhi. Madam, thank you very much for joining us all the way. Please, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful introduction. Namaskar to everyone. Namaskar from a very small and remote village of Kerala, that is Santalur. And at the outset, I would like to thank every one of you for joining me virtually, and sincere apology in physical, I'm here in particular remote village. And I just hope my presentation of today will enlighten and will make you people understand that how skilling is becoming one of the major aspects of central government, and how we are looking forward to have convergence from the industry, from the state, and as well as from the other participants of the society to be better and better when it comes to skill development in tourism and hospitality. So I would just request to allow me to share my presentation meanwhile. So let's start with this important topic for today, which is the skill development for tourism industry and hospitality, of course. So understanding how important we are moving forward uh, in terms of tourism and hospitality, and it is our it's our hard work, and it is our good luck that we have work pre-pandemic. So understanding this at this particular moment that uh, are based on a combination of resources. Like we have people who are skilled, we have people who are unskilled, we have people who are educated, we are highly educated, and as well as uneducated. And it is the only industry which gives growth to all kind of sector, all kind of segment of such human to the point he leaves. So from the origin till the back to the origin, there are multiple layer of skills which are involved in serving a tourist. A tourist is equal to at least the minimum of 24 jobs, and these 24 jobs can be of service providing, can be of any other form. But yes, in these 24 jobs involves skilled, unskilled, educated, uneducated, highly educated, all kind of human resource. And that is why we always say that skilling is very important when it comes to tourism and hospitality industry. Atithi Devo Bhava, it is what we talk about. And when we talk about Atithi Devo Bhava, then it has been in practicing in our country since years and since ages. But when it comes to tourism and hospitality industry, what we need is we need to have that skill to understand that how do guest to keep the guest as a god is what the skilling will do, it's what the practicing will do. So in this particular slide you may see that we always have seen that skill is always adjoined with the education, tourism education. But no, skilling is very different from the tourism education. Skilling same time it do link with the ability to serve the guests in the best possible manner. And that is why I have listed down few important areas that how skill is required and why skill is significant. Skill is significant to gain the experience to serve the tourist. It is the ability of a service provider to make skilling gives you growth. So if you're skilled when you are in tourism and hospitality industry, such kind of skilling training program, capacity building gives you growth in the same industry. Skilling increases your knowledge, it gives you opportunity to learn, it gives you to become more competent towards the industry. And that is why we always that skilling is highly important. The significance of skilling survey about understanding how skilling is developing in our country. So this is a small, this is a small extract of a report which we have undertaken, which Ministry of Tourism, Government of India has undertaken. And understanding this, we could very well establishment, and this talks about till 2025. So the 1 year until 1 year ahead, we are in 2024, and we could see that estimated manpower gap is approximate 3 lakh 80 it's 38 lakh 43 38 lakh approximate. And this hospitality industry, but they lack the selling. They are from accommodation sector, majorly from accommodation sector, because the major time a tourist spends is always at the accommodation. Uh, you know, it is always said that a tourist half visit is soul satisfaction. This particular accommodation makes the full 100% soul satisfaction. Spa and wellness centers, banquets, highways, dhabas. So this was the report says that there is a good amount of skill gap which needs to be fulfilled, and this needs to be fulfilled of course by the state government, or maybe by the industry, or maybe by the institute like IHMs, IITTMs, SIHMs. So we do have the different institutes responsibility of the industry, the associations, the federations, and also the state governments to understand the capacity building to importance, and to understand the gap to be fulfilled. So when in terms of Goa, I was just told that initiatives of the central government, and how I really wanted to term it as, when it comes to take up the responsibility and understand where the gaps are and how it has to be taken up. The similar report also speaks about the estimated manpower gap in different sectors, as mentioned here. So here we can see that yes, the future is calling us to have more and more skilled people in our country, more and more skilled human resource in our country. Our economy is the third major. Our the five T's which are going to give growth to our country talks about, and one of the T's talks about tourism. So understanding the importance of tourism and hospitality industry in this growing country, understanding that how we can be one of the most stronger economy if this particular gap can be fulfilled is more important. The industry is open to create lot job opportunities, entrepreneurship opportunities, but what we need to do is we the human resource which are either already working in the industry, or maybe they'll come up, they have the intent to join the industry, but they do not have the required knowledge and required training to join the industry. So the steps needs to be taken up, have those opportunities whereby the people who are already working in industry needs the advanced trainings, needs the refresher trainings, and whereby the people, the resources who have the intent to work in travel and tourism industry, but people also need to be tapped. And one of the major thing to understand here is, the countries lack the information, they do not have the awareness. All those reports which is shown in this particular slide speaks about that there is a major skill gap in the hospitality industry. We need to bridge this gap. There is a major workforce which are available, which needs to be, the potential workforce is there, we need to drive them. So we now the entire vision has to be shifted. The vision was up till now hospitality industry. Now we need to shift this vision from more and more human resource to how the local community can be skilled, can be involved, and can be taken up as the human resource in tourism industry and hospitality industry, or as in human resource who might even take the opportunities of being the entrepreneurs. Destinations become at least 60 to 70% equipped with the tourism and hospitality services. We talk that local economy as the most strong and strengthening economy. So at the local level, we need to start thinking about that, how the people can be motivated, people can be taken up. The driving force needs to understand whereby people can be part and parcel of the entire ecosystem of your tourism and travel and hospitality industry. And it is always understood well that there are development and promotion can happen only in two ways. The first way is always the intent and the intent of the local community to be the part of tourism. Until unless your local community is not ready to be the part of tourism, then of course there is no opportunities which are the other industries as their major income source. So right from the small dhawa wala to a small, a person who works in the kitchen of a dhaba, to a auto driver, to a rickshaw driver, or maybe a local handloom or handicraft person, or maybe when we talk about the coastal areas, then street vendor, or maybe a person who has the boat or a ship, anything. So anybody who is somewhere indirectly or directly or trained and skilled not for their work, because they are already expert in their work. A person who runs in handloom, who work on handloom, is already expert in making handloom product. But in what they are not expert is how to deliver the story of handloom to the tourists who are coming to meet him, or who are coming to see how the handloom works. So that gap of weaving the story of this handloom has to be trained, or has to be told to them. Again, similarly, a roadside nice, the food service good, but the story of serving the authentic food is missing. So that has to be trained. The people there, the staff there is good enough, but they do not know how to welcome guests when they come, how to talk. If a guest asks, "What is this in the plate?" So they should know that what this particular dish calls and how this dish is prepared. Is it a staple food, or is it a traditional dish, or a folk cuisine? So in the with the degrees, or just educating them with the degrees or diplomas, it is more likely to be how a tourist how a tourist is will be able to interact to the local community who are directly or indirectly involved in the tourism and hospitality industry, a housekeeping staff, or front office staff, or maybe maybe even chauffeur, or maybe the security guard. When a security guard also opens a gate with a smile and welcome a tourist, so welcome to Goa, that itself, memory starts coming up. So a tourist will always remember that particular security guard lifelong, saying this, oh, we had been to Goa, that was the hotel, that was the property, and the guard stories of a city while while picking up a tourist from the airport and dropping to the accommodation. That time gap should not go with the silence. So again, a story, small stories, legends, beliefs of the city, or maybe the major tourist destination of the city, or maybe something about how the city is developing. So such kind of training needs to be given to the taxi drivers, whereby they can interact with the tourists. Sometimes, yes, tourist doesn't want to interact because they've come from the long flight, but at the same time, the driver should be equipped enough, skilled enough to be in that on that note, that he knows that how to keep that silence broken. The ice breaking session should be something which should be trained to him. So tour operators, to the travel agents, everybody needs to be equipped with this skilling sector. So understanding the entire picture, that how the gaps are and how the gaps needs to be fulfilled, central government has initiated number of schemes and number of plans for the community to take it up and to get equipped. So the first and foremost major initiatives of central government is the Incredible India Tourist Facilitator Program. So during the pandemic, when there was the entire nation was handhold, in Ministry of Tourism, Government of India launched this online self-learning tourist
Recording stopped.
facilitator program. Now, this online self tourist facilitator program is known as Incredible India Tourist Facilitator. It is it's the idea was that wherever I am, to whichever city I belong to whichever town, to whichever district, whichever village I belong to, if I want to come into the tourism industry, if I'm a 12th class person, be it be any age, it has to be just 12th pass. I will do this course and I'll become the with Government of India, Central Ministry of Tourism. My profile will be uploaded once I finish my exam, once I receive my badge. My profile will be uploaded on the e-marketplace. This e-marketplace is again a centralized e-marketplace of Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. Now, once my profile is there, my profile says that I am a woman who runs the demonstration, local cuisine demonstration classes at home. Now, if somebody wants to come and enjoy this local cuisine, they'll just book my time. My times are given, my remuneration is mentioned there, my expertise is mentioned there. They just need to come. They just need to book online, come, enjoy the services, and again the payment will be done through the government account to the basic course. Then basic course is the first level, which is again in bilingual language, English and Hindi, which has to be taken up first. No matter what age you are, no matter what is your educational background, what is your gender, what is your capability, advanced level. Under advanced level, we have two expertise. The first is the heritage expertise, and the next is the adventure expertise. So, if I want to become a heritage facilitator, I take the advanced course of heritage. Again, that is in bilingual. And if I want to serve my own state, if I want to do it in the state also, I'll take up the other state also. And then once the course is over, examination is over, training is over, so we have the again we have the certificate to facilitate tourists. Similarly, with my expertise, it will be uploaded on the e-marketplace. So this entire course was actually own place, develop their skilling of becoming the community tour leader, skilling of becoming the tourist facilitator. And I would like to mention here that we have already more than we have already approximate 8,000 tourist facilitators who have completed their course, and they are facilitating tourists all over India. So this is the becoming a tour facilitator can take up this course and can move ahead. Coming to the next initiative, another very important initiative of central government is their capacity building program, which is Hunar Se Rozgar Tak. Now, this capacity building talks about, you have hunar, or you are expert in something, but that expertise is not getting converted into profession or not getting converted into an employment opportunity. So to improve the employable skills of the local community, this particular India. This is like a training program whereby a local institute or local government, in collaboration with Government of India's Ministry of Tourism, holds 21 days or 3 days training for the different segments of the tourist service providers. Segments can be drivers, segments can be the so segment can be any of them. And once they complete this course, they get the certificate. They are ready to they are skilled. They are equipped with skill to become the employable in the tourism industry. So this is another initiative which has been taken up by central government. The another major initiative which has been taken up by central government is capacity building service providers. Now, under until unless we do not have the human touch in it. So the human touch comes from the service providing. Service providers are either skilled or non. But they are the ones who are with the tourists right from they put down. They are in different roles of, as I mentioned, the roles of different professions of hospitality, or maybe different professions of tourism industry. Local community also sometimes becomes a service provider if they are hosting them in their house, if they are inviting them for the meals, if they are inviting them to understand their local culture, if they are artists, they are dance performers, they are folk dancers. So service providers comes in various roles, and this particular program Hunars Rozgar for the people who might not be working tourism industry but wants to come into tourism industry. They might be the drivers, but they want to start up with their becoming a taxi driver for a tourist taxi. So Hunar Se Rozgar Tak was for that kind of segment. But when we come to capacity building for service providers, then this is basically for those service providers who are already working in industry, but they are not yet skilled to work in the tourism industry. So anybody who's already working in the industry, be it be any of the segments, there are different courses like train the trainer course, like guide training course. We have the TAP tourist awareness program where the behavioral skills has to be understood. That how a tourist needs to be taken care when a tourist comes down to our country, right from the first step to the last step, they go back. They need to be treated as God. So this particular capacity building for service providers have different capacity, different training modules, which can be taken up by the state government through any of the again training institute, training units, and these can be held up at different places. So again, the certificate of the Ministry of Tourism would be provided. Apart from these initiatives, Ministry has from time to time are launching different guidelines. Like Ministry has the guidelines for homestay, from BNB establishment. They have the national strategy for rural tourism. Where again they talk about the capacity building of the village community, local community. The national strategy for MICE is there. National strategy for golf tourism, national strategy for adventure tourism. So, considering the different areas, the separate strategies and guidelines are also framed. And under those separate guidelines and national and strategies, capacity building has been one of the major pillar of central government. And the major pillar for the reason that skilling and capacity building is the major core, or the major pillar without which no tourism can survive. So capacity building has been always one of the major matter of concern for central government, and that is how they are launching different programs from time to time. There are different programs depending upon the different requirement of the destinations which are being launched, and it is the urge of the central government to the industry, to the state governments, that let's collab, let's converge together and avail these kind of initiatives which is there in the central government to train the human resource, to train the service providers which are either already working in your destination, at your destination, or they are looking forward for the employable opportunities in tourism through these kind of programs. So this was the initiative. Since I'm already I think on time. Apart from this, as I mentioned, from time to time,
Hello. While Dr. Kamakshi took out the time to try to get in touch with us from a very, very rural part of India, and we appreciate that very much, Unfortunately, we have a little way to go as far as technology is concerned for seamless communication. However, don't worry, there will be a presentation that she has given, shared with all the students who are present here. Apart from that, the Confederation of Indian Industry Goa chapter will also be going through this footage to make a brief report to submit to the Goa Tourism Board. So without further ado, I would now like to begin the intimate conversation between Mr. Andres Omar Hayes and Mr. Praveen Roy. Let me introduce them to you before I welcome them on stage. Mr. Andres Hayes is the president and CEO of the Artife Group, a group whose he had spent 11 years with Visa International and had played a pivotal role in the credit card business, setting up companies' operation centers for Central Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Mr. Hayes also managed the iconic B. Smiths at Union Station in DC and founded AH Consulting Firm. As the president and CEO of Artife Hospitality Consulting, Hayes expanded his impact, working diligently to elevate hospitality service both in Washington, D.C. and Abu Dhabi. He's currently establishing a services development business in Jaipur, India. And Hayes is also a proud member of the SCOL International Washington, D.C. Club and sits on the international board of SCOL International. Mr. Andres, I invite you to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please. He will be joined by Mr. Praveen Roy, an advisor on skills for the Confederation of Indian Industry, New Delhi, India. He has been part of qualification review committees, a national body for adoption of standards. He has also served as the CEO to the Tourism and Hospitality Sector Skill Council, where he was instrumental in getting a relevant industry on board and to set up a skilling ecosystem for the hospitality industry in India. He has also been an entrepreneur in his own rights and has spent about a 15-year stint with IHCL in the capacity of general manager and principal, among others. Sir, I welcome you on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please. To set the theme, our In Conversations session today focuses on development of skills for the tourism sector in Goa. In today's digital age, it's essential for tourism professionals to be proficient to use the technology, whether it be for marketing, reservations, or for customer engagement. This session, we invite you to have a conversation to deliberate the importance of skill development, which is crucial for sustainable and inclusive growth in this tourism industry. There is a constant need, as we know, to encourage a culture of continuous learning in the tourism sector, to provide opportunities to professionals to update their skills and to stay current with industry trends. Government support and funding for skill development initiatives in the tourism sector is the need of the hour, especially for a state like Goa, wherein the government agencies can also help set standards and regulations for the industry. The conversation, we request that it focuses on suggesting and implementing certain strategies that can ensure that Goa's tourism workforce is well equipped with the necessary skills to provide exceptional experiences for tourists while also contributing to sustainable and inclusive development of the region. Gentlemen, I leave the stage open to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting us over here. And I would like to start with a small fact. Goa, the population of Goa is around 1.5 to 1.6 million, while the number of tourists coming into Goa is nearly 8 million, which is a very, very exciting situation to be in. But at the same time, it creates a big challenge. The challenge of identifying human resources for the industry. And at the end of the day, Goa ends up importing a large number of people from across the country. While many of the most deserving Goans who have been the excellent workforce are currently part of the workforce across the globe, which is what is the current situation in Goa. Andreas, would you like to see how we can actually help Goa improve this situation?
Absolutely, and thank you very much for the opportunity. There are several ways to do it, and one of the things I would like to is to start with a quote from one of the top hoteliers in the industry, and the quote says the following: "To accomplish big things, I'm convinced you must first dream big dreams," and that's actually said by Conrad Hilton. Answering your question, there are several items into it. The first thing, that when we get into this industry, we need to understand several things. The industry has changed. And if you're not a passionate individual, this is not for you. That's the number one rule into this. At the end of the day, it's what you want to get out of this industry is going to be one of the most valuable aspects into it. For me, it's one of the most fascinating industries because you get to meet people from different parts of the world. You actually get to meet people from different cultures, even within your own country. And at the same time, you need to actually take it to that level where you can only not provide 100, but 200%. You got to be the best of the best. I said in my previous presentation that nowadays we have become victims of the internet, victims of social media, and basically everything relies on this type of equipment nowadays, where it's good and bad in a way because now the consumers have become more demanding in what to expect when they get into our industry. So that means that we have to be ahead of our game. And how can we accomplish that? There are several ways. The first is to build that passion. Industry is at all levels. Our hospitality industry goes to all levels. We're talking hoteliers, we're talking airlines, we're talking restaurateurs, we're talking travel agency, attractions. It all depends. But one thing that we have to understand, that we need to make sure that when we communicate with our guests, the first thing that we got to do is to understand and to listen their needs, and then to be able to communicate in a way that they will be able to understand what we're trying to transmit to them. And I think that's going to be critical. For me, that's going to be the basics. Also, one of the things that I said in the previous presentation is that in the hospitality industry, it's not just the fact that we need to go ahead and provide a service. No, we got to provide the best level of service. And how do we do that? It's going to take a while. It's going to take training. And there's going to be several techniques that we're going to be discussing during the presentation. I don't want to jump ahead of myself. But I think the most important aspect here is to go back to the basic of what hospitality is. Hospitality is something that has to do with two individuals or a group of individuals. Is something a person to person. We cannot sugarcoat it.
Yes, of course. In fact, I still remember around 36 years ago when I graduated from the hospitality school in India. The biggest aspiration was the Goa workforce. If you can get into Goa and work in one of the Taj hotels, you have made it in your life. I was really excited, and wherever I worked for nearly 10 years outside this country before I came back, where I would go, the most revered workforce were from Goa. They were the best. There was no doubt about it. And I think today the challenge is, how do we retain them from getting out of the country? And obviously, one of the biggest issues is there is a big demand all over the world, and the Goan workforce is obviously in great demand. But beyond that, what is more important to keep in mind is, how do we prepare the Goan youth, or how do we prepare the Indian youth to deal with the situation which is existing in the country? because it's an unprecedented domestic tourism growth which we have never seen before. And this is going to increase manifold. I know there are certain hotel groups which are trying to establish new destinations so that the diverse distribution of the workforce of the tourists can take place. In fact, I'll give you an example. I was on Baga Beach yesterday night and I got scared. There was at least around 50,000 people or 20,000 people all over. And I remember 6 years before when I'd come and I was staying in one of the hotels on the beach. It was still beautiful. So I can understand that the growth which we want for ourselves can at times create such a situation where anybody and everybody wants to come here and it's affordable to come here. So I think somewhere down the line to deal with that part of the tour, because we can't say no to the tourists. They are coming here, they are part of India, they have all the right to visit the destination. But how do we train our people to cope with that kind of stuff? It's what is going to be a big challenge I foresee in India. Yeah.
And it's going to be a challenge because right now the industry is facing several challenges. Okay. The first one, we're looking at the experience in personalization. That means the workforce talent. After the pandemic, we lost a lot of people in the industry. And that's something that we have to face. The other one, it has to do with sustainability. We have become more and more educated when it comes to sustainability market. And also, we now being led for what I mentioned before, when it comes to increase in hospitality tech. That's another major issue that we're facing today. And last but not least, we're changing the consumer demands. And based on the pandemic, because of the blockchain, now we're seeing the rising in operational costs. So those are the challenges that we're facing. But now, how can you contribute to that? And I'm going to sound repetitive over and over. For us, we need to go back to the basics. What is the basic means? Okay. First of all, when you provide a service, we want to do it with a smile. You cannot walk into the workforce. We all have problems and we all have human beings. And I used to tell my staff back in the days, if you feel that you cannot provide that smile and that level of service, stay home. I'm not encouraging for you to do it, but what I'm trying to say, the message here is the fact that if we feel that we cannot provide that level of service to that day, to the customers or to our guests, then stay home. It is critical because remember, now there are choices out there. And that's a rule, that's the number one rule out there. That will be my recommendation. 2, are you willing to actually learn all the different techniques? And one thing that we cannot teach you is going to be common sense. There's going to be several aspects into it, and you need to be able to react to different occasions. But now, the aspect about all of this is a domino effect. I think the first thing that we got to do is to train the management nowadays. It's critical to train the management because we have seen an increase of managers in every single aspect of the industry, but doesn't mean that a manager can become or is a good leader. And one of the things that we need to do is train them on the day-to-day operations. And the second aspect is going to be on HR for attraction and retention. Why I'm saying HR, attraction and retention? Because the rotation in our industry has increased a lot. I don't know if you agreed or not on that, but has increased a lot. But we need to make sure that we build a succession plan for the next generation to come. We need to start educating the youth to understand that this is one of the most beautiful industries ever. By a show of hand, okay, please explain to me and please tell me in one word why you decided to get into this industry. Anyone? If not, I'm just going to point at somebody. These are all students, correct? All right. The gentleman in the back who's smiling. Come on, stand up. Why did you join this industry? Or why are you aspiring to join this industry? Can we get him a microphone, please? I need to stand so, DAC. Go ahead. If not, just go ahead. Use mine. I will share it. There you go.
Yes. Passion for travel,
Passion for travel.
and then exploring the cultures,
Okay.
and then interacting with the peoples. So
Perfect.
you learn something new from them.
Good. Sir, what is your ultimate goal by getting into this industry?
We can afford a variety cultural traditions from many of the people. We can go visit their places and we can identify what all changes can be added in the sector.
Excellent. Sir, last question. Why you want to get into this industry?
Actually, we can see different kind of peoples, different kinds of their diversity, and we can manage their how they wanted to experience different kind of places.
Excellent. One of the things I recommend, that energy that you brought up just by answering this question, you need to bring it every day you come to work. Okay? That's one of the things I will encourage you. Passing on to you.
In fact, you have touched upon a very important point. You know, we have around 30,000 people who study in hospitality institutions across India. The attrition rate in this industry is well above 60%. So there is a consistent requirement of new people which needs to be joined. The brick and mortar model of setting up educational institutions are becoming very expensive. Most of the institutions, governments can't afford to recreate an hospitality environment inside a learning center. In fact, I would like to give a very good example what CII has done, which is actually going to be something which is going to change the way the whole training process would happen in future. We have tied up with one of the best in the world, which is École Hôtelière de Lausanne, based out of Switzerland. It's 130 years old hospitality school. They normally run a degree program, but we said that none of the students or organizations want a student to spend 4 years learning higher education in hospitality, because then his aspiration is only to become a general manager. And if he doesn't become a general manager, he wants to leave and run away into some other industry. So technically speaking, most of the graduate schools in India were actually preparing students for some other industry, but not for hospitality. And that's why we said, let's look at it differently. We started this program along with EHL, which is called VET by EHL, Vocational Education and Training by EHL. We launched it globally. Mauritius, Maldives, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Muscat, all these countries are adopting this program at a very fast pace. But in India, when I was the director with EHL, at that point of time, I had tied up with CII, and now I am with CII. We were struggling to set up centers because the physical brick and mortar centers, first of all, you don't get the right kind of faculty, you don't get the right kind of facilities, you don't get the right kind of training inputs for the students. So we said we have to relook the model from a different perspective. The course is of 18 months duration. It's divided into 3 parts: foundation, intermediate, and advanced. And the course is run inside a hotel premises. That means we have tied up with Taj Group of Hotels, we have tied up with ITC Hotels, and we have tied up with Hyatt now. So the hotels run these programs. Their managers are the faculty. Their managers are trainers. The student actually spends 1 day in a week on online classes where theoretical sessions are given, but the more focus is on hands-on training. So if you and secondly, nobody does hotel management. Everybody is doing either culinary or service or rooms. So they have a very chartered direction of career progression made for them. A hotel trains them and observes them for 18 months. And after 18 months, most of them get absorbed by the hotel itself, though there is no compulsion of on the hotels to absorb these students. But we started it around 3 years ago. This year, we expect to recruit 1,200 students across India, which is really amazing. And we are targeting to do 5,000 students in next 2 to 3 years' time.
Actually, that is fantastic because the same model is being applied today. When I founded my company, I applied the same model that instead of opening a venue to teach, we take the class to the hotels. And that's one of the things that we're doing at the moment. First, we consult to see where there are faults. And then on the areas that we see that there lack any type of capacity, then we provide training. And we do the same. We're doing at the starting level, intermediate, and advanced. We do it in different modalities. We're looking at the front and back of the house. We also have a culinary program, not to train chefs, but to train cooks. And we also do make sure that there are two things that are incorporated in that training. One is the Safe Search certification that only applies in the United States for cross-contamination. And the other one is that we train them in 4 different modalities of cooks. Then we also train what we call in terms of mixology. And we created a new term, which is called moctology, okay, for mocktails. So we train them in mixology to understand, first of all, to maintain a low beverage cost and also to become creative. We do the same in terms of the moctologists, as we call it. Also, we train on the day-to-day operations, on the operations of the industry. Because nowadays it has become more and more challenging and more cost effective. So we need to make sure that we still run, especially if we're running like a restaurant, we got to make sure that we make it effective. We use ingredients, and so at the end of the day, it becomes cost effective, but at the same time, you still provide a great experience to the guests. And the last that we also train them is going to be on a management skills, like I said, putting the attention on the day-to-day operations and on HR and attraction and retention. But that course is a certificate program that we have developed with the Washington Adventist University. The reason for that, because then that's going to groom those managers to become more effective, and then they can build a succession plan for the generation to come. And that will encourage them to do it.
I think that's wonderful because I forgot to tell this program which we run is a diploma, which is awarded by the École Hôtelière de Lausanne. And also the good part is this is student paid completely. We don't subsidize it yet even by 1 rupee. And this year we expect to get 5,000 applications for 1,200 numbers.
Excellent. And one of the things that we have done is partner with multiple hotels to make sure that when we train the staff, now they're going to leave with the highest level of training. So at least by the time you finish, then you're going to be guaranteed a job. But the first thing that we ask the students, what is the ultimate goal? Some of them might want to become a chef, others might want to become a restaurateur, or meaning, managing restaurants, or they want to actually doing the front desk. Others wants to get, in different modalities of the industry. And then based on that modality, we will definitely train them. But we're already partnering with hotels, attractions, and other organizations to be able to, by the time they finish, we guarantee a position.
Oh, wonderful. In fact, what's also happened, which I would like to express, is that CII now is an awarding body. Mm-hmm. That means it can award diplomas, up till diplomas, through National Council of Vocational Education and Training. So it becomes a government recognized program. So what we are trying to do is align the same program to the NCVET qualifications. We have already started in other verticals, the same hospitality workers. In fact, we were in talk with the government of Goa, which was around 1.5 to 2 years ago, where we made a presentation to the Honorable Chief Minister that we wanted to set up a culinary academy in Goa. Now, obviously, the reason for setting up a culinary academy in Goa was, if you ask me, Goa is the most ideal location anywhere in India from the perspective of availability of raw materials, and also on the perspective of the manpower who would like to work in the hospitality industry, because it offers the best facilities. The whole idea is also, Andres, is that Italian cuisine Chinese cuisine, they all have been developed globally as global cuisines now. Mexican also, let's say, for example. But unfortunately, the regional Indian cuisine has stayed where it is. It has not gone outside the borders of India. I travel abroad and go and eat in Indian restaurants, and it's really sad story. It cannot be the worst story. What we can do as a favor to the world, our cuisine is obviously probably one of the best medium spicy cuisine most of the time. And if we can develop, and if the hotel industry can train these youth, they first of all become employable. Second is they will be available as the right kind of a manpower for the restaurants in, let's say, London or New York or maybe Melbourne, etc., which desperately needs good quality of manpower. A lot of Indians today have money to set up food business across the globe. They can really fund those businesses. But where is the local manpower?
I agree with you 100%. The issue here, how can we encourage them to get into the business? And the second thing, that's something that we will need to start collaborating and joining forces with all the different stakeholders. We need to make sure that they're aligned by understanding that it's going to be a requirement to be able to sustain this business. And that's something that I do encourage to enhance that conversation, because it's going to be critical for the advancement. I got to tell you, I've been in Goa now for 3 or 4 days. I cannot even remember now how many days. But I got to tell you, one of the things that I have to say, I can openly say, is that this is a gold mine.
I agree totally.
And again, there's more to come. I had conversations with Carlos, and I told him about some of the things that I immediately saw, that I think that this could be one of the top destinations, not just necessarily in India, but in the world. But I go back to one of the items that I mentioned this morning, is the fact that I think everybody needs to be part of telling that story. And I know for every single resident in Goa, there's going to be a story to tell. And that's also going to be part of the pride to be able to promote and to become an ambassador of their destination. And that could be one of the first things. But at the same time, by bringing those stakeholders, we need to prioritize tourism as one of the top industry sectors just for Goa.
Yeah. In fact, very rightly said. I look at this as an opportunity where we can set up a culinary institute, because again, as I said, availability of raw materials for a good culinary school is absolutely important. If you look at Goa, right from the meat, fish, poultry, seafood, to fruits, to vegetables, to dry fruits, to spices. I mean, you have everything in this state. And you don't need to import anything from anywhere in the world. Everything is available inside the state. And just imagine if we can train good quality Goan chefs, because most of the Goan cuisine, I still remember we had a chef in Taj called Chef Ananda Solomon, who was in Goan, who set up the Konkan Cafe, the first ever Konkan Cafe in Taj President Hotel in Mumbai. That cafe, people used to really flock from all over the world to eat in that place. It was probably one of the most sought after. But he spent nearly 1.5 to actually researching on the Goan cuisine, the Konkan cuisine. And that's why what came out of it was first step in that direction. After that, a lot of Me Too restaurants came, but there was no staff to cook in those restaurants.
Yeah. And you bring in a good point, and that's only when it comes to culinary. What about the other areas of tourism? Let's talk about ecotourism. That's another field that actually could be explored. What about then we're talking about other different type of attractions? I can guarantee that there's going to be tons of museums where we can actually add or create to build that story. I think that is one of the most fascinating. Let's talk about now what we call sports tourism, medical tourism. All of that can be added to the story of Goa.
In fact, the lady who was speaking before us is part of that ecosystem, which actually trains manpower for the tourism industry. However, Andreas, the sad part is you're absolutely right. We still don't have tourism infrastructure in this country. From the perspective of, I mean, we are talking about tourism, police. Goa has started the concept. Some other states have started the concept. But the question here, police is not the police. There is a lot of information a tourist needs, and that is required on the go. But we don't have those smart kiosks. Cities have now, but we don't have the smart kiosks where the information. I remember going to the Victoria railway station in London, and right as soon as you enter the station from any direction, you have this information. When you try getting into any of the big railway stations in India, it's very difficult to get information because there is one counter which says inquiry. And if you ask him or her anything over there, you will get snubbed because he is flooded with request of which train is going where, how to do this, how to do that. So I think that again, and Andres, is a very phenomenal opportunity to train the youth in providing that kind of services to the tourists.
Absolutely. One of the things that I want you to take away from this conversation today is the fact that despite of everything, this is one of the most stable industry sectors out there. And one thing I gotta promise you and tell you is not boring at all. There will never be a dull moment in this industry. And that one I can tell you with a fact. It's gonna be fun. Yes, it's gonna be a lot of hard work, but it's almost like a drug. You become addicted to it. And what we're discussing today is the passion that we have built because we do care. And at the end of the day, this is something that we're going to keep learning every single day. None of us that probably could be in this industry 30, 40, 50 years, we do not know it all. Because at the same time, the world is changing and the industry has to change as well. So it's just a matter of us keep reinventing the wheel to be able to adapt to what's happening in nowadays. But I also want to say something is the fact that we need to please understand that whatever you decide to do, always try to be the best on whatever you decide to do. That will be my message for you, so you can take away from our conversation. And there are going to be challenges. There are going to be challenges. We're not going to sugarcoat it. But at the same time, it's going to be fun, and you're going to be learning every single day. And always keep smiling.
Absolutely. So basically, to conclude, I would like to say that we have tremendous potential in the youth today, and the youth is very, very excited to be part of the service industry. Now, how do we channelize it? I think that's the biggest channel. My take on that is do not spend money on building massive modern infrastructure in terms of and calling them institutions of higher education. I have run one of the such institution which was rated as in the top 10 in the world. And I know there's a lot of money which is required to pour into that business. But at the end of the day, if the student gets a degree, he is available for the whole industry. And only hardly 7% of them work in hotels. But if you do this kind of program where today's young youth who don't want to get into technology or don't want to get into any other industry, if we train them inside the hospitality premises or even in good, well-equipped centers, where I do certainly believe that culinary will need an initial training before they jump into the hotel for their in-service. If we can do this kind of setups, we can actually attract a large number of tourists because they will come, as he rightly said, they will be attracted to go to a place where people are passionate about providing the tourism services. So I think the need of the hour is to create excellence in whatever do in terms of training so that we can attract
large number of youth. It's the most employable industry where I have seen CEOs, general managers, owners coming out of the industry. I can give you an example. In recent year, a person who owns 36 hotels in India started off as a steward working in the hotel. And that's the kind of passion which can bring. You don't have to do an MBA from IIMs or Berkeley University to work in this industry. You got to have your heart degree. That's what I want to say.
And if I may just I would like to add one last thing into all of this. Please raise your voice. We need to hear the best thing that we can do, build a succession plan, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you because you know what? We do not know it all. And this industry is evolving every single day. So whatever you feel that it can help to the benefit and improvement of this industry, please let us know.
Hello, gentlemen. I can't thank you enough for a very insightful conversation. Andres, to answer your question, the reason I got into tourism is because I love people. I'm a people person. I've always loved people coming over at home. I've loved making friends in school, and I love Goa. So the more I see people delighted with Goa, the happier I get. And that's been my reason to stay motivated, because this is a passion-driven business. There are many easier things you can do in life. But if you love where you're from and you love people, hospitality is the industry for you. You know, I would like to thank Mr. Andres and Mr. Praveen so much for being here. And also, of course, Dr. Kamakshi Maheshwari, who had joined us over presentation. We will be sharing that presentation with you. I conducted what could be, or I decided to do what could be called a moderator suicide, where I left a conversation unguided. And it is a testament to your insight and to your ability to hold a conversation that has delivered so many practical solutions. When you refer to skilling at existing infrastructures like hospitality, being a hotelier myself, that sounds like a wonderful program. I always trust people who are younger than me, people who are new, people who do not have a vested interest or some other motivations. They're just here to learn. They're just here to see, and they tell you exactly the way things are. So as a hotel owner, I think it's a fantastic suggestion. We have thousands of hotel rooms, starred hotel rooms that are registered with the department already. And we have a few thousand more that are on the plans with various PPP models. So I think this is a very low hanging fruit to utilize, to better utilize, because this boom that we're talking about in Goa tourism is around the corner. The airport's already up, the stall is over there. Air India and Vistara and Indigo are taking delivery of the aircrafts in the next 3 to 5 years. There are so many more hotels on the plans. And like you said, we need authentic people, people who understand the job, people who are employable at the end of their courses as well. So that seemed to be the most effective, instantly effective advice that you all have given us today, among many others. So once again, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time, for coming all the way to Goa to be here with us this afternoon. I would like to invite Honorable Director of Tourism, Mr. Sunil, to kindly facilitate our distinguished guests here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, can you kindly give them a big round of applause? And thank you all so much for being here.